Welcome to Sarah Talks Food. Today, we're really going to talk about food when I sit down with Korey Kealey. She's the CEO of Kitchen Connected. She's the founder of Energive crackers. These babies are amazing. I don't go on any road trip without them. She's the co-author of the Ultimate Cookbook for Hockey Families. And this is an amazing resource written with Erin Phillips, who's the wife of Ottawa Senator defenseman Chris Phillips. Korey is a wife to a busy Ottawa realtor. She's a mother of 3 very active, busy kids. And of course, being an entrepreneur herself, we're really going to talk about how the heck does she keep it all together? How does she do it? How does she get meals on the table? How does she communicate with her family? How does she make sure that her kids are sleeping and staying hydrated? How does she do it? So today is really all about food. Let's get to it. Let's talk with Korey Kealey. I really wanted to have this conversation about sort of the work-life balance, keeping it all together, and how you make it all look so easy. So welcome, Korey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So talk to us about, again, busy. You've got kids in sports. You're busy yourself, running out the door, I'm sure, every morning, getting to the office, working away. Although I think your office is in your home now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So that makes the commute is much better. But yeah, you've just got a really busy family. And so I want to talk to you about, what is a day in the life of Korey Kealey?
Oh, well, it's never the same. It's interesting. It could be starting out with yoga early, 5:45 a.m. so that I can make it to drive my daughter to school for 7:30. And then after the kids and everyone are managed, whichever way they're going, usually about 9 o'clock, I start my day. Working from home is great, but it also has its challenges because you could never go outside unless you force yourself. So quite often I'll start my day with a walk to go get a coffee and to Westboro or whatever. So it'll be a good 5 or 6K walk. And then I come home and I start doing my work, computer work or cooking, whatever it may be. If it's Energive, it's typically, following stores, working with distributors, working with retailers, social media, all that good stuff. And if it's Kitchen Connected, it's cooking, planning recipes, planning shows, either in Ottawa or Toronto or Kingston. And that's the fun part, is the cooking and the food and playing with food. Yesterday we did a photo shoot for Christmas. So I was scouring the city for candy canes. We're not quite Halloween yet, so it's not as easy as it might seem. So I was laughing yesterday thinking, no 2 days are the same. Today we're doing this and tomorrow, who knows?
And I bet that keeps it just kind of lively and interesting, that everything and every day is different. I mean, I can only imagine, that the weekends are very different than, like you're saying, the weekdays. And the school year is probably very different than when the kids aren't in school. And I know that you've got older boys as well. And one of your boys is now playing semi-professional hockey.
Yeah, he's in Austria playing in Europe. So he's in the Swiss League playing for the EC Red Bulls. So that was a new adventure. So part of the beauty of being your own boss and working for yourself is you can make your own schedule. So when we got the last minute call that he's going over to Austria, we were 24 hours later taking a week off to get him settled there. So there's a lot of really great perks to having your own life, but it also comes with other risks and things that a regular job wouldn't have. So pros and cons for everything.
Always pros and cons for sure.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, let's say, so your other son is also in hockey, right?
Yes, he is. So we have Alexander, who is 17, and he's the one in Austria.
Yep.
And he's turning 18 next week. And then our other son is Adam. He is 16, getting his driver's license. He's in grade 11 at Nepean, and he is a hockey player, good hockey player, and he's also a golfer, and he's an academic. So he's got a good balance of all of those things, and he's an entrepreneur. That kid is going to be very entrepreneurial businessman for sure. And then Rebecca is in grade 7, and she goes to Elmwood. So that's a bit of a commuter with her across town. So, and she's a competitive hockey player as well. So her schedule's quite busy. And my husband Liam is also a hockey player. He's played since he was 4, and he plays still with some of the guys that he started playing with when he was 4 years old. So we're a big hockey family. And between that and the Ottawa Senators games, we watch every one. So we're pretty immersed in that world.
Oh my gosh. Well, we certainly know that you are involved in the hockey world. The book, The Ultimate Cookbook for Hockey Families, is a staple in my home, in my kitchen. It's honestly such an amazing resource, not just for the recipes and of course the pro tips and all of the cool information that's inside, but also just for, for really understanding how to hydrate properly, how to really, to get the right nutrition when you're working with kids that are active and with families that are active. And so I wanted to talk about the cookbook as well, but let's get back just quickly. So let's say it's the school year, it's hockey going on, and everybody's kind of got somewhere to go. How do you plan for meals in that day? So how would you wake up in the morning, or do you plan it sort of a week in advance? Like, how does it look like to you? What does it look like to you?
Okay, so I'm not a planner. I definitely fly by the seat of my pants. And I do my best work when I'm under pressure. So if my fridge is looking pretty bare, I can get really resourceful rather than having to go to the grocery store again. So I do have that. I learned that from my mom. She's very good at whipping together a soup or a stew, or pulling together weird ingredients to make something interesting. So I'm not a planner, and I do recommend planning for people who have 9-to-5 jobs. You have to. You are gone out of your house. So I am also working from home, so I can kind of zip in and out of grocery stores, in and out of my kitchen, and I can do some stuff. The other thing I do lately, as my kids have gotten older, is I give them jobs. I think, why am I still making all the meals and planning and figuring all this out when these kids need to eventually do this for themselves? So I will get them cooking and baking and peeling and doing some of the prep work, and they're good about it. They like it. I don't say they love it, but they do it, and it's helpful. So like peeling carrots, we don't just peel a couple carrots for dinner. We peel the whole bag and we get them in a Ziploc, and they're in the fridge. So then they're ready, and then the kids snack on them. We chop them up, put them in soups, we shred them, we put them in salads or whatever. So I work in bulk too. I don't just make a little bit, I make a lot, and then I freeze it, and often I share it too with my friends. Or they bring food over and share with me when they make too much too.
What a great strategy. I love that. First of all, sharing with other people. I mean, that's something that I don't think most of us do. But I love that idea that when you come home from the grocery store, I do the same thing too. I don't put things away. Right off the bat, I'm cutting up, if I buy a big piece of salmon, I'm cutting it up into portions, freezing some, putting some in the fridge. I'm, like you say, I'm peeling the carrots or putting them all away into, separate containers so that they're easily accessible and they can be eaten as snacks or used in dishes. So I really love that idea. Same with quinoa. I know you're a big fan of quinoa, as I am too. I make tons of quinoa, and then I freeze a bunch of it so that it's easy to pop into, stir fries or into soups or whatever, or just to use as a side dish. So I'm a big fan of that trick as well.
Yeah, it's very helpful. The quinoa, I do that too. Big, huge pot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's get back to talking about kids getting involved. So I'm curious, I'm not a mom, but you are a mother of 3. And I wanted to know, how young were your kids when you started to talk to them about nutrition and eating healthy? Or does that conversation even come up? And if it does come up, sort of how do you approach it? Or do you just get them right into the kitchen and get them helping you right off the bat?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of talking about healthy food. Mostly because as soon as somebody tells me something's healthy, my eyes glaze over and I think, oh great, it's going to taste horrible, or it just takes away the fun for me. So really, I just care really about how it tastes, and if it's delicious or if it's beautifully, it's visually appealing. That's kind of what I focus on. So with my kids, I talk about eating natural foods, and eating, when they were younger, I'd say you just have to eat the rainbow naturally, because they're like, oh yeah, this blue bubble gum looks colorful, Mom. And you're like, no, naturally blue, like a blueberry or whatever. So we would talk about the colors of the rainbow, and we would do that and combining it. But the bottom line is, I just never bought foods that were, I never buy convenience foods. I never have. That's my mom again. I was raised on, like, we grew our own chickens. My mom made her own yogurt. She sprouted alfalfa sprouts were always in our, she did all that. We had goats, she was like a true pioneer foodie. So I never had, and baked goods were always from scratch. So I think baked goods are great. I think there's a place for them. When you can just open up a box of cookies that have no flavor and there's nothing in them that's good for you, you didn't have to work to make them, to enjoy them, there's something lost. So we could have a bag of store-bought cookies sitting in our cupboard for months. I would never think to open it. My kids might, but I just don't buy it. All that to say, I think it's how you approach it as a parent or as a spouse, whatever your philosophies are, kind of trickle down to your kids. And our kids are a lot more educated now in school. They're watching the shows, they're learning about fast food industry, and they're starting to bring some of those messages home, which is exciting, and for sure. So I think it's kind of, I've never talked healthy, but definitely we talk about, so recently, let's say after the summer, my coat was a little tighter than it was before the summer. So my kids are like, what are you gonna do? I'm like, I need to pick some better food choices. I need to cut out some of the calories I've been eating. So I'm just gonna maybe not have wine at dinner tonight or whatever. So there's a conversation like that has to happen, because that's just reality. But I never say I'm fat or I've gained weight. I just say, this is a little snug. I think you're gonna have to take control of that. Let's go for an extra run this week or whatever. So we try to talk about body health, image, food, calories, all of that, just in a way that is just healthy.
Healthy is the new skinny, for sure. And I just think that conversation, or that lack of, focusing on fat, but just talking about health, that's where it's really at, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a time and a place of when certain foods fit. So, before a hockey game, we're probably not going to eat a piece of pie. But after the hockey game or the next day, you can have your pie that you didn't have in that place, and and you've worked out, so you've actually earned your pie, kind of thing. So yeah, those are conversations we have all the time.
So speaking about earning your pie, so when it comes to junk food, so I know that you were saying you don't have a lot of junk food in your home. I really try to keep most of it out of my house as well. I like my home to sort of be my safe haven. But what about in the real world? You've got 3 kids. I mean, there must be birthday parties and different things and times where they want to go to McDonald's, let's say, or maybe they don't. But I'm curious about what happens with the whole junk food, society that's out there. How do you let them know, no, we're not going to have that? Or do you let them have that? How does that work?
They have it for sure. And I don't get excited about it. I don't try to make it a big deal either, because it's a part of life and it serves a purpose often. Like if all of my son's friends are going to McDonald's for lunch one day, a month, go ahead, have fun. But maybe, if it's a day when you have a hockey game, don't eat the fries, let's say, or, make a choice, skip the pop, or, they make good choices on their own, but I for sure, there's a place for all of that kind of food. We buy chips sometimes, like Friday nights, we're having chips in front of the hockey game. My husband's obsessed with jujubes and candy. I don't buy it as a rule. And when it's not in the house, then he'll be like, there's nothing to eat here. So I'm like, okay, so I'll go buy some treats for him, and then he's like, I wish this wasn't in the house. I just think, I'm so confused. Do you want it or you don't want it? I don't know. So typically what we do, I try to keep it not readily available in the house because they'll snack on it. But if we really want the junk food, we'll go over to the store and buy it for the time that we really need it. And by the time you've decided to put your shoes on and go out the door and go and get it, sometimes that feeling is past. So that's kind of the thing. Yeah, I don't get too excited about it, but it's not a regular thing in our house for sure.
I think that's a really good strategy too, to really have to make the choice to go out and get it if you're going to get it. And I feel that way too. It's sort of too much effort and energy. If it's not in my home and I'm already at home, do I really feel like going out and getting it? But I mean, we're hardwired as human beings to crave, fat and salt and sugar. And, so it's normal to have those cravings, and they're really hard to get away from. And so sometimes I find, for me too, I have to have I call it a cheat day. And it's that one day a week where if I want to have a slice of pizza, or if I want to have, jujubes or candy or cake or whatever it is, I'll go ahead and have that. And I do usually feel kind of crappy afterwards. So I sort of wonder, why did I bother even doing it? So sometimes the cheats can get a little bit less and less because I just know how I'm going to feel. And I also find that feeling of pride that I have when I can kind of go to bed at night, put my head on the pillow and say, I really did a good thing for my body today. I exercised today. I ate really healthy. And, I feel really good about about the choices that I made today, as opposed to, I can almost guarantee that most every time that I sort of go crazy and have a massive cheat day, I really don't feel well. And I don't like feeling guilty about when I make bad food choices. So I try to not make those food choices as often as I can, for sure.
Yeah, it makes it less. I think that's a good point. And I talk about that with my daughter in particular, because she loves candy. She loves it, sugar. And it's readily available. Every school celebration, they serve cakes. Everyone brings a muffin, and it drives me crazy. But then at the end of the day, she'll say, I have a headache, Mom. And it's like, okay, let's go through what happened today. Like, what did you eat? What did you drink? And then I make her do the math on it, kind of go, okay, so now you have a headache. Let's think about that. Like, let's remember next time you're wanting to have that, remember that you had a headache when you woke up in the morning. So she has started to eliminate some of the sugary things later in the day because it gives her a headache, and she's figured it out. And it's how you feel. And so when you can make that connection between food or drinks or whatever and how it makes you feel, then that is what will eventually change, I think, your behavior. Same with me with like eating wheat and dairy. I feel horrible. I love it. I love it more than anything. But when I eat it, I feel horrible, and and my face gets puffy, and all of those consequences that go with it make me choose more often than not to not have it. And when I do have it, it's like all right, am I on TV tomorrow? Because if I am, I better not eat this. I'll be a puffball. But some days it's worth it to be a puffball, to have that big piece of ice cream cake or something. You make your choices.
Yeah. And I so agree with you that, we have to make those choices, but it is so funny when, you're kind of going through your life and it's like, wait a second, let's make I call it a food mood connection. And I have a food mood journal, and I recommend to anybody out there that is sort of struggling with that, first of all, struggling with not feeling your best, but struggling with weight or struggling with just, maybe achy joints or whatever, really write down every single thing that you're putting into your body. And I find for me, when I really did that, just like your daughter, I was finding headaches, not feeling great, just really hard time getting up in the morning. I was really looking back at the day before. What did I eat the day before? And so I even find that when I write down what I've eaten, and then I write down 20 minutes later how I'm feeling, you can really go back on those days and kind of determine, okay, wait a minute. And so I'm with you with the dairy. I'm not so bad with. I don't feel great with it, but I can do Greek yogurt. But definitely with gluten. Whenever I eat, a slice of pizza or a sandwich or something that has, regular bread, I definitely have that sense that I'm just feeling crummy. I'm a puffball. I'm bloated. I feel crummy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about now. I really want to talk about one of my favorite products, which everybody probably knows, are the Enerjive skinny crackers, the Enerjive crackers. These ones are Italian. These are my personal favorite now. My personal favorite used to be the garlic and cayenne. These have an amazing kick, but these are, I don't know what you've done, Korey, but these crackers are just to die for. So every road trip, I take a box or two of these crackers with us. And so basically we just dip them in hummus, or we can eat them with, tomatoes. And I had some with, I think I had some cheese and a hard boiled egg. And I was just kind of eating all this stuff on the road. They're just amazing snacks. And this is Korey's company, Enerjive. And I just can't thank you enough for bringing these into the world, Korey. The chocolate ones are amazing when you're having a chocolate craving. I love dipping them in peanut butter or almond butter, or having a banana with them. They're just absolutely delicious. And so I just love that you created this this product. I love that it's made from quinoa, which again is a naturally gluten-free, high-protein grain. And so I'm curious about, how did you get started on this food production path? Like, when did all of this start for you?
That started in 2010. And I was diagnosed with food allergies: wheat, dairy, red meat, chocolate, red wine, like all the things that I loved at the time. Also, like, part of my other world is doing recipe development, and for food companies, including the beef growers of Canada, the cattle farmers, and the dairy farmers of Canada. Like, I was a spokesperson for the milk calendar for 3-4 years. So I knew that when I wasn't feeling very well, and I knew when I was analyzed that I was going to have to change my diet, and I was very hesitant to do so, but I was feeling so poorly that I did. So I was given a recipe for a bread replacement, and it was basically the cracker recipe that you see now, but it was very difficult to make. It didn't have a lot of flavor. And being a recipe developer, I was like, oh, this is brutal. This is not bread. It doesn't even satisfy me like a piece of bread would. So I changed it a little bit within my food groups to make it taste better for me. And then basically friends started asking me to make it for them. And then we just it grew from there. We presented it to Farm Boy to see if they would have any interest in it, because it seemed like a unique product that really wasn't available. When you're reading packaging, you get to the end of the list, it's got all kinds of corn, soy, rice, like fillers, preservatives, and things that couldn't fit onto my diet. So we presented this as like a clean option for people to eat, and they loved it. And so basically we turned around and decided to figure out how to make it for mass production. And that's kind of how it started. So we started in Farm Boy it took about a year after that meeting to get it going. Started December 2011. And so it's been almost 4 years coming up, but so it's been changed many times. Packaging's been changed 4 times. It started out as a wider bread, but then people said it was too thick, too big, so we made it skinny and cut it in half and call it skinny. And then the skinny is great, but it also doesn't appeal to everybody. And the skinny was the clean reference plus the length and skinny size of it. But I think there was something lost a little bit in translation, that it's just a delicious quinoa cracker. So this last packaging that you just showed is exactly what it is. It's the same original, super clean, delicious recipe, but it just has a very easy approach to it. Anybody can look at that packaging and go, oh, it looks like a cracker.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of trying to figure out how to communicate with the customer with a glance, at your package. So that's how it started, and that's where we're at, kind of thing.
And I really love that you really clearly listened to your customer and figured out what exactly was missing or what they wanted to see. And then you just kept adapting from there. I think that's really smart marketing and smart business for sure.
Oh, thanks. Well, we're lucky with social media that we communicate really clearly with our customers. People can reach out to you if they want to, and they can talk to you. It's pretty great that way. But I think you have to adapt too. You do have to adapt, and healthy, super clean eating is amazing, but it's not for the masses. And if you want to have a product to take it to the next level, you have to appeal to not just the super clean eaters. So people like you who care will read the ingredient list. You'll see all those symbols and you'll know, but the people who don't care will just like this cracker.
That's a great point. And so let's talk about that. So gluten-free, kosher, non-GMO, and peanut-free. So I was in Newmarket this weekend. I live in Ottawa, and so does Korey. And I was in Newmarket this weekend, and we were able to find these at Vince's Supermarket in Newmarket. So we found all of the flavors except for the rock salt, I believe, were found there. So I was super excited knowing that you're really expanding. So how many stores are you in now?
We're in over 500 stores across Canada now.
Wow.
So we're right across from Newfoundland to Victoria. So straight across the country. Definitely a huge, much bigger presence in Ottawa. We have a great presence, and then also in the GTA area. And then out west, it's a trickier market for us. It's just it's not as densely populated, and it's super tight competition. So we're doing well, but we're just still working that one in. And then out east is growing too. So we're in Sobeys, we're in some metros. We just got into Real Canadian Superstore in Ottawa, and then there's as a test market to see how it goes. Farm Boy obviously is our amazing number one account locally here, and they're expanding as well. We expand. So it's
congratulations. That's fantastic. And it was really funny because, again, my favorite are the Italian ones. And so I was feeding them. We were having a picnic on the weekend, and my niece and nephew, they call them the pizza crackers. And so they love these with a little bit of cheese. And we had cherry tomatoes we were eating with them at our picnic, and they ate the whole bag. I mean, they were gone. My niece and nephew and myself and Roger, we just went through the entire bag. It was awesome. I absolutely love them. I can't say enough good. And I love the fact that, they are people who certainly aren't, too concerned about reading the ingredients. They're 7 and 10. They are just looking for something that tastes yummy. And it was neat because even the spicy ones, I was a little concerned they might be too hot for the kids, but they like a little bit of a kick. And so they love those ones too.
That's awesome.
Love that product. Cannot say enough good things about that product. Go out and buy those Energive crackers. Before we wrap up today, Korey, I really want to talk about the ultimate cookbook for hockey families. So I bought this cookbook and it's more than a cookbook like we kind of touched on earlier. I bought this book for my cousin's kids who are hockey players. And so I'm just going to kind of flip through and just show tons of recipes, tons of pro tips. So awesome. But I bought a copy for my cousin's kids, and they are loving it. So I know that they're going through and they're reading through it and making some of the recipes. And so let's talk about Aaron Phillips and Korey Kealey getting together to create this cookbook. Let's talk about the ultimate cookbook for hockey families.
Okay, 2 years ago, actually maybe 3 years ago, Erin called me. It was like the first day of school, and she said, and we have known each other just kind of through events and socially, not really any more than that. And maybe a bit at CTV and stuff if we see each other. But she said, we have to do a cookbook together. And I said, no way. Are you crazy? Do you know what that takes to do? I work with cookbook authors and it is a lot of work and I'm busy running a company or two and forget it. And she said, no, it's a really great idea. I want to get the recipes that NHL moms fed their boys growing up and share that. And then I'm a nutritionist, so I'll get all the tips for that we feed the Sens. Chris, her husband, is an Ottawa senator. And then she said, and then you'll do the everyday, like the real stuff of like making it accessible for busy parents and tips and tricks in the kitchen and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, that is such a good idea. You're right. It is a great idea. And nobody had done it. And we are both hockey parents. I had 3 in hockey. She's got 3 on the go, plus Chris, and she plays hockey herself. So I was like, yeah, you know what? People are struggling. They do want help. So we set out to do it. And that's how it came about. And we have had the best time doing it. That is my most fun thing I've ever done. It kind of combines everything I love: food, education, helping people understand, making it a little bit more easy, and recipe development and the fun play on the words and marketing the recipes to the kids and to kind of think of how they're going to receive it. On page 114 is the Power Pucks.
Oh, and
that's a recipe that Erin has been feeding her family forever. And they're super healthy little balls is how she used to make them. And so basically when we were doing everything, we gave it a hockey twist. So we flattened them, made them like pucks, instead of putting, because that recipe called for a cup of chocolate chips on the inside. Well, when you're eating something with a chocolate chip on the inside, especially if it's raw, you don't really get that kick of chocolate. So we cut it down to a 1/4 cup and just spread a little bit on the top to make it look like a puck. And so kind of improved the nutrition of it, made it appealing to kids. But that's the kind of thing we did throughout the book. That recipe is like the #1. Like, kids are making it all across Canada. Mothers are thanking us. They're like, I can't believe my kids are eating this. Plus they're also making it themselves. So I feel like that's a good representation of how, if you can just communicate something fun, not necessarily healthy. We don't talk about health there. This is a Power Puck and they're eating it.
Yeah, I just love that. And so I had already actually bookmarked that page. Those are the Power Pucks, and those are a staple in my home as well. They are delicious. They are easy to make. And so I'm really wanting to touch on one of the comments you made about the kids that are now making them. I remember reading something on social media where you said that there was a kid that they went to bed with the book under their pillow. And I thought, wow, now you're on to something.
I know. The mother emailed us saying, we're fighting over who gets to read it before bed. And I just thought, wow, I'll send you another book. Yes. Let that kid have it. You're good.
It's like, my job here is done. If we've got kids that are begging to read a cookbook and it's tucked under their pillow, my gosh, that is a winner right there. Well, and it really is a winner. What I love about it is, you were saying earlier, you're not a planner, but that's okay. The rest of us really need to be, especially again, if we've got 9-to-5 jobs with busy families, busy husbands and wives and kids and things going on. Most people really struggle when they don't have a plan. And that's when the drive-through looks really appealing. And that's when, it's just, let's just throw anything on the table. And so I really love that a lot of the book is dedicated to really planning. And then a lot of it is big pot meals, so that a lot of it can be, like you said before, you can do a lot of freezing, you can have a lot of leftovers, and everybody can kind of eat at separate times. Because I imagine, I think that there's that real dream to have everybody eating dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at the table together, and everyone's happy, and this is life. It's not real life, I don't think, anymore. Especially, in a family like, Erin Phillips' family, for sure. I mean, her husband's on the ice however many mornings and nights during the season, and then she's playing hockey, and her kids are in hockey, and your kids are busy in hockey and golf and everything else that's going on. How can you put everybody at the table at the same time? I don't think it's possible.
No.
So I think having meals where, there's a big pot on the stove. And so is that how it kind of works in your house, that people can just kind of grab something off the stove?
Yeah, when it's a busy day, it's definitely, crock pots are your best friend in the kitchen. They really are, especially during the week, because even if you can quickly throw together a stovetop spaghetti sauce, let's say, it doesn't take long to make a spaghetti sauce, ground meat or vegetables, whatever. But then it's the kind of, how do you serve it? And if you're across town driving and someone's coming home from school and needs to eat 4 hours before their game and you're not around, They have to be able to navigate that themselves. So crock pots are great to have. Even if you have it made ahead, you keep it warm all day long. Kids, you can leave dishes out. They can just dive in and get it themselves. We do have to teach our kids, and I think inevitably that happens, where they have to empower themselves to grab food out of the fridge for themselves. But the younger kids, a little tougher. So like a good example, last night, Erin, our daughters played hockey against each other last night. They played Canada. My daughter plays Ottawa Ice. And so we got to the rink and Erin showed up. I'm like, hey, we're playing each other. But she had to come from Canada all the way down to South Ottawa for 5:15. So her other daughter was figure skating and her son was going to be on the ice at 8 o'clock, and Chris is, busy. So she did that. She's like, I got home at 4:15. I had to make dinner and then I had to get this. So she has, you have to have those tools. But I think having a big pot meal, like you said, having it ready to go, everybody has the tools to kind of know how to put it together. That's going to save you for sure. And then unfortunately, thermoses are important. Like you might have to be eating in the car. We do like to try to sit around a table, but it's not always possible. It just isn't.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that's where a thermos can really come in handy. I mean, car eating isn't perfect, but at least we're seated. At least we're, kind of relaxed a little bit. Two other major elements that come out of this book are sleep and hydration. So I want to talk quickly before we wrap up today. How do you talk to your kids about sleep? Do you just set strict, sleep times, and how does that work? And then also keeping them hydrated. How are you able to do that, especially during the day when they're at school and they're elsewhere? I mean, how does all that go?
Well, yeah, it's a conversation. And again, it's about how you feel. So we go back to, and I use my daughter as a really good example because she needs her sleep but loves to stay up. So she will wake up very grumpy, and she has a 7:30 departure time. So, and a longer day at school. She's not done till 3:45. So it's a very long day. So by Thursday, if she has not had her sleep, and she's got hockey. So Tuesdays and Wednesday nights, she's got hockey. And then at some point she was having early cross-country training or volleyball or field rugby at the school. So she was even there earlier. So by the end of the week, she's a bear and she's miserable and she's crying, like we're all those things. So when that's happening, I said, let's look back on this week and how this has gone. You went to bed an hour late and those hours add up. So it's really about talking about how they feel when they're not getting enough sleep. And then it's also paying attention to what's happening when they go to bed. Are the lights out? Are the pets in the room? Get them out of the room. Are they looking at devices? Their devices should be turned off a couple hours at least before they go to bed, because the screen stimulates their brain. So if they're reading and playing games until bedtime, their mind is still going. Little things like that. So we do have a section on sleep and tips, that if the kids aren't sleeping well, like look at how much water they drank before bed, because if they're getting up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom, that's disrupting their sleep too. So there's little things that we might take for granted, but little tips that if a mother goes or a parent feels like their kids aren't getting enough sleep, like just do this little checklist. You might be surprised. There's a few things that could help them. And then for hydration, that's Erin's thing. She has an entire thing on hydrating and how it's basically to have a cup of water when they wake up, have a cup before bed, have a cup at lunch. And if you spread it out where one cup kind of through the day consistently, you're going to get the amount you need. No problem.
Yeah, I really love all of that. It's so much about the planning of it and the communication of it. And I think that's really what's key here. What I'm hearing from you is that, you're not just letting health happen in your household. You're planning for it. You're creating it. You're, allowing for it. And you're also saying to your kids, okay, go ahead and do what you're going to do. And then let's talk about how you feel after the fact. So, if your daughter, if Becca's not sleeping and she's, staying up late and then she's feeling really crummy, it's like, well, let's kind of look at what your sleep was during the week. And so, I think with anybody, people can tell us all the time, when I was a smoker, everyone would tell me, quit smoking. And I think, get out of here. I'm not going to quit smoking till I'm good and ready to quit smoking. Yeah. And so no one could tell me anything. So I think that maybe that's something, especially with the older kids, let them make those mistakes or let them go through those things. And then, they can really then have a better sense of, oh, wait a minute, that, my parents do know what they're talking about. I really do need to make those changes if I want to feel better.
Yeah. It is their life. They're going to do what they want to do. But if we can just guide them a little bit as they get older. The younger ages, it's much easier, but you quickly lose control the minute they go to junior high school, you're done. they can say they're doing something, but they're all going wherever they're going and whatever. So you just hope that whatever the foundation you lay will come back eventually to help. And then you just kind of try to guide throughout.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I guess it kind of all really starts with the parents. You know, what I'm really hearing here is it's all really starting with, with you and Liam laying that foundation. And, every parent's allowed to make whatever choices that they want to make for their lives. So let's really just get the information. Let's really become empowered and get as much information as we can to really lead a healthier life. I mean, we all can read that, we need sleep, but let's actually practice that. Let's see what it really feels like to get more sleep in the night. Let's really know what it feels like to be more hydrated. And then we can really, empower our kids by saying it really, really does make you feel better. And let's go ahead and try to implement that in your life, by letting them, again, either maybe not drink enough water and then write down how they're feeling or think about how they were feeling. But I think it all really does start for sure with the parents. And that's not to blame parents. It's just that's an empowerment tool. I think that it really does start with the folks.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. And parents will say, how do I get my kid to stop eating junk food? I'm like, I don't know, stop buying it. Like, it's pretty basic. You're in control. Stop buying it. And I know it's actually silly to say, but I don't know, people don't realize it's really that easy. Don't have it in the house and they can't get it. They have no means to get it. So it's harder on us, I think, as parents. We want them to have all things, but we have to be tough.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I love that advice. Just don't buy it. Just don't have it. Where can people buy this amazing resource, Korey?
Locally in Ottawa, a lot of the Canadian Tires still have it, and then the proceeds are going to Jumpstart. Right now, we're using it as a fundraiser for teams. We've actually pulled it out of distribution in the mainstream, and we're just helping teams fundraise with it.
Oh, wow. I'm lucky
so
I got
they can connect with us. Yeah, I know. And you know what? Farm Boy still has copies too. So locally in Ottawa, you're going to be able to find them. Otherwise, you can go to hockeyfood.com and you can order one. And if your team, if you know someone who's a hockey team, the teams are making $10 a book. So it's been great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with me here today, Korey. It was a pleasure. It's always wonderful chatting with you. You are a wealth of information. What an amazing, busy lady you are. I will let you get back to work. But once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. I am loving Korey Kealey. She is one of those powerhouse women that I just admire and look up to so much. So a couple of takeaways. She talked about not being a planner and being able to open up cupboards and just go ahead and make a meal at the last minute. She works from home. She's got a bit more of that luxury that some of the people that have to work 9-to-5 jobs that are racing home don't have. I'm in the same boat. I, first of all, don't work a 9-to-5, and I'm able to open up cupboards and kind of get ideas. A lot of times Roger will say, what the heck are we going to eat? And there's nothing to eat in here, and I'll be able to whip up a meal. So I'm going to be doing a couple of posts down the road, not too far down the road. And I'm going to hopefully try to help or inspire people that think there's no food in the cupboards, or what the heck can you do with, quinoa and chickpeas and a can of tomato sauce. So I'm going to hopefully try to make something out of that for you so that you can maybe be inspired to make easy meals out of what you do have and not have to hit the drive-thru. So the other thing is, really talking about communicating with our kids. Again, I'm not a mom, but just, I love this idea of the foundation has to be laid at home when it comes to eating well and eating healthy and feeling energized. So let's really do that for ourselves. And then we can go ahead and model that behavior for the kids. The idea of sleeping more. Again, I think a lot of times parents or people will say, yeah, I can survive on 3 or 4 hours of sleep. But it's not about surviving, it's about thriving. So I really think that that's important. What I'm also going to do, many years ago, I wrote what's called a food mood journal. And I used to give it to our clients at the health studio that Roger and I ran. So I am going to put that as a download. It's just a 1-pager. And so you can then print it off as many times as you like to. But I'm going to have that as a download so that you can track everything you eat and drink. You're going to track your mood 20 minutes after you do so. You're going to track how much water you drink in that day and how many hours of sleep you got the night before. So I'm going to go ahead and post that down below as well. And I hope that serves you. I highly encourage you. Oh, which one should I show? The chocolate ones are amazing. These are great. I highly encourage you to go out and buy Energive crackers. These are delicious. Clearly, you can find them all across Canada now, and it's just going to be getting more and more available. And go online, hockeyfood.com, wherever you live. You can find that website and you can order yourself a copy of the Ultimate Cookbook for Hockey Families. Absolutely an amazing resource. So many pro tips, delicious recipes. I'm sort of looking at it in my camera here, and just super yummy, awesome things from the parents and the actual athletes themselves. Great information there from the parents of the professional athletes, I should say. And just stay connected with Korey. She's a great lady to stay connected with. So I will put all of her social media handles again down below this video. So please stay connected with Korey. Please love your life one bite at a time.